You guys know that the director of The Brutalist, Brody Corbett, has actually 4 names? He's Brady James Monson Corbett. I hate him even more now. Welcome to the Untitled Film Project Podcast. I've breathed into a paper bag and regained my composure. We like to talk about movies. Go see the movie, come talk about it with us. And I am joined with Justin Bradford and Jeremy Gover. And we're going to be talking about one of the most talked about films, possibly among the Best Picture nominees, The Brutalist.
Tell me, why is an accomplished foreign architect shoveling coal here in Philadelphia?
I'm afraid it is not so simple.
So we're going to talk about The Brutalist, and we're going to get into the nominees for the Academy Awards, the Oscars. Who got snubbed? How did they get it wrong? Where did they go right? And there'll be like just a couple of that last one. Three and a half hours. 3 hours and 35 minutes. With a 15-minute intermission. The Brutalist is the talk of the town. Let's go to Jeremy Gover for... Give me a take on this thing.
All right. My initial thoughts of The Brutalist are the intermission, great choice. We've actually talked about on this show about how I think Bradford's one way to fix movie theaters would be to have a mandatory intermission for a certain length. And this definitely qualifies.
You sure did.
So, the intermission, that was really cool. Adrien Brody is absolutely amazing. He was on my Best Actor ballot for the Music City Film Critics Association. No question. Guy Pearce, amazing supporting actor, also on my ballot for Music City Film Critics Association.
Felicity Jones, she was good.
Felicity Jones was
really
great.
good.
Okay, now, let's get real about it, all right? This is 3.5 hours of a slog. There is zero entertainment value in this. It's beautiful filmmaking, and it's gorgeous cinematography. And as we talked about, the performances are really, the leads, right, are really, really good, solid, like award nomination worthy.
They did a great job.
But movies are about story. And yes, it's an important story for sure, but do we need 3.5 hours of it?
Is it an important
You
story?
got the point across at 1:45, and then maybe to make it artsy, you make it 2:30. Not 3.5 hours. This movie is art for art's sake, and I cannot stand the director for doing that. It's like he shot everything that he thought of and then cut nothing. And that's not how movies are supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take on The Brutalist.
I was watching it and going, oh my God, he has pulled every tool out of the kit to make this Oscar bait. It tried so hard in every second of it. I'm Oscar worthy. I'm the next great American novel on screen.
Yes.
And it tried so hard. And you know what? There was some really good things. Cinematography was great. The acting was great. The fact that they made this on such a tight budget by going to Eastern Europe, pretty incredible because it looks a lot more expensive than it is. But that's just like me admiring how they got the job done. It's not, this is a story that doesn't need to be told. In fact, Justin Bradford, we were talking about this after the movie, and we're like, wow, I never knew about this guy, this, Brutalist. It's referring to his architecture, which is really ugly, by the way. The best cinematography for the worst freaking era of architecture you could ever look at is so ugly. Okay. But we were talking, we were like, wow, I never knew about this guy. What an amazing story. Maybe the story had to be told. And then we looked it up and we found out he didn't exist. He's not a real guy. This is not a story that needed to be told. Brady James Monson Corbett made it up. And it sucked.
A lot of our fellow critics have been in love with this film.
Yes.
And Jim is just continuing to make enemies right now.
I am.
As Gover said, and we've been discussing this multiple times, we stood outside the screener for, 20 minutes discussing this, and even more in the parking garage. It is art for art's sake. And when we say that, we mean that we can appreciate the beauty behind the filmmaking because it is shot wonderfully, the beauty behind the acting. They're amazing performances.
Yeah.
But you can pick up the flag of why was this made? And this was made because a director and writer had a vision that they wanted to make this so that people would ooh and ah over it. And plenty of people are. And that's okay. It's okay if you enjoy this. I did not get any joy out of this movie. I can appreciate the art, but for me, if I'm seeing art, I'd like to appreciate some joy behind it.
Yeah.
What? I mean,
No, you're absolutely
right. Like,
I never thought about it like that.
yeah, so and that's the way I'm trying to say it. And when I say that, too, when I've talked to people about the film, they can appreciate that take because while one can appreciate the beauty behind it, it doesn't mean that we loved it or that it deserves to win awards. Or individuals could deserve to win awards behind this. Adrien Brody can absolutely win an award. So could Felicity Jones or Guy Pearce. They both could win awards.
Cinematographer.
And could deserve to, yeah. But overall, as a best film, no, it cannot for me because to me, a best film needs to have a complete package. It needs to have all these things coming together that doesn't make it feel like this was built for award season. And that's exactly what this feels like it was built for.
Yeah.
Was award season.
Like it was reverse engineered from some other like Citizen
Let's
Kane.
find all these different pieces and put it together. And when you see the speech of the Golden Globes, you're like, okay, he was very passionate about it. That's great. Great for him that he had his passion project come to life and that he was recognized for that. But I cannot see this and be, that's a great film, because I saw so many other films that were more worthy of winning awards in 2024 than The Brutalist. Individual performances, yes. As a movie, no. It's art for art's sake, and I cannot knowingly give that recognition for being great.
How do you make up a story of somebody like this and then make it 3.5 hours like it's an epic about somebody who really went through this? I understand that Adrien Brody's character represents. I get all that.
The dream.
I totally understand that.
And what capitalism does. There's so many of those topics,
for sure.
right, which are important to know.
And they're all admirable. I get that. Okay, but when you make a movie like this for this length, with this style, with this much detail and grit, I expect this to be a real person who lived this story, and you, as the director or writer or producer, whoever, feel passionate about bringing that story that we may not know because we didn't learn it in school to us. But none of that happened.
So when we went to Google, imagine the disappointment.
Yes.
When it kept coming up with someone else named Laszlo Toth.
Yeah.
That was not this architect.
Art is supposed to elicit an emotion. That's what art does. You go to a museum and you see a painting that you really like or whatever.
It can make you angry too.
No, an emotion. I use that on purpose. Yep. Art is supposed to elicit an emotion. That emotion shouldn't be boredom. And that's what I was essentially like, I'm accepting this. I'm supposed to like it because it's big and large and shot beautifully.
I'm supposed to like it.
Yes, but that's the takeaway. We're just supposed to like it because it's art for art's sake. It's not art because the story needed to be told or because, hey, look at this really unique thing that happens. The most unique thing in this movie, I'll tell you right now, it's in the credits. It's how the opening titles are. The opening titles are in a corner, and I'd never seen that before.
And they're moving horizontally instead of vertically.
And I was like, hey, something new. I like this. Let's go. And holy smokes. Just, again, it's not bad. Please do not. It is beautifully shot. The performances are good. The story's worth the story, meaning the immigration story, right? The obstacles you have to overcome as an immigrant, those kinds of, that's all worthy.
Art versus commercialism.
Yes.
There's themes there.
Totally valid. But come on. This is purely somebody who thought they were fancy and I'm better than everybody else. And I'm going to make this splendid piece of art, and everyone's going to like it.
It's going to be Great Gatsby of this generation.
Yes, right. And then it's like, okay, great, good for you. I don't know, whatever.
It's the definition of making me feel ennui.
2000s Beyonce would say, put a ring on it. Let's put a number on this, because we're not putting a ring on this movie. Not from what we just said. Scores, let's start with Justin Bradford.
So it is very curious because the three of us are fairly in agreement. Now, our scores might fluctuate with terms of hatred or dislike or things like that, or just appreciation of the art, or how we score that, right?
Yes.
We all appreciate differently that we can see the beauty behind it even though we didn't care for it, which is going to affect how we score it. And I say that because overall, the movie is receiving very good ratings on the critic side and on just the normal viewer side. Like that's...
But I'm also going to say only a certain small slice of America is going to see this.
Well,
Yes,
I
that's
was
correct.
going to say that.
But I beat you to it.
You beat me to it. Now, for instance, on Rotten Tomatoes, there were only 500-ish public comments, which is very small when
Yeah.
you think about the thousands that pile in for most major motion pictures, right?
Right.
There are 243 critic reviews, which is a decent amount. You get enough. It's a sample size, right?
Yes.
But only about 500 plus. It's still an 83. Like you said, there's a certain audience that's going to be interested in this anyways because it's built for a specific audience. It's not built for wide release. That's okay. Not every film has to be built for wide release, and that is okay. So it is curious that you might see, wow, this is an 83% for general public and 93% for critics on there. This must be really good. Well, it's good to those people.
Exactly.
Certain people are really enjoying this art for art's sake. And again, that's okay because you interpret art differently.
Sure.
The way that what's weird to me is that all three of us, which doesn't happen often for a film like this, interpreted the exact opposite of what the director and writer intended, right? That's very unique. That's a very unique situation of three people. You think one of us would have been like, oh, I really appreciated that and loved it just based on typical numbers.
And there was space between us. Not like we were all
Right.
sitting right next to each other and we're feeding off each
Right.
other. One person's bad juju on this movie just kind of infected the others. We came to this independently.
Yeah, because we had to be quiet for 3.5 freaking hours. 15-minute intermission on the screen, which definitely helped because we all had to potty.
It was cool. It was cool.
That was nice. So appreciation of that fact that, like how Gover even said, that's something I'd like to see. But the director being in charge of that, even more appreciation because they found a natural stopping point.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyways, the performances is where the points come for me. The production design, the editing. There's so many key things that make this good, even though I didn't enjoy it. And for that, I will give it an 8.0. And that's because that's not elite for me. That's very, very good because I can appreciate it, even though it would not be in my best films of 2024. That doesn't make it elite enough to be up there.
All right. Gover, what do you think?
If you want beautiful cinematography, watch Nosferatu. If you want great performances, watch A Complete Unknown. And if you want sprawling landscapes that are beautiful, watch Dune 2. The Brutalist does all these things very well. But as an entire package, whew, it's a slog, as I said. 7.5 for me.
Okay, I think that's well said. My score is a sum of all the wonderful work that people put into this movie, especially the actors were terrific. The people who filmed it in VistaVision, and I mean, gorgeous set design, all those things. So I'm giving him credit for that. I'm taking a lot of credit for away because this was written and made with the vision of, I'm going to get me an Oscar, and I'm going to put everything in there that they love, and I'm going to make them sit there for 3.5 hours and shove this movie down their throat. So I'm giving it a 7. All right, now that we've thrashed The Brutalist, let's talk about how the Oscar nominations got everything wrong. I know that was a little bit of that's a dig. But let's talk Oscar nominations. Who got snubbed? Who was a surprise for you? Let's start with maybe somebody who didn't make it into the nominations that you said, oh, they're a lock for this. Gover?
Well, again, I would have liked to seen Heretic get some love, not maybe at the Oscar level, but at our level, which we talked about on this episode right over here.
Yes.
You can watch that if you're watching on YouTube. I just pointed to a corner. You can listen to that episode. But I think for the Oscar level, I think my biggest question, and I don't have a whole lot of problems with a lot of these, but I think the one that stands out to me is that Trent Reznor is not nominated for Best Original Song or the score.
What the hell?
Of Challengers.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
It was one of the only movies, there's a couple of them, but that was one of the only movies that came out in 2024 that I remember being haunted by the score and by the music, and it just stayed with me. And to me, that's the mark of a great soundtrack and score. So, you know,
It was integral to that movie too.
Yes, for sure. So for me to see that completely left off when it won so many different film critics associations around the country for best score or best original song, it really blew my mind.
So let me pose this to you then. For music, for original score, you have The Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Wicked, The Wild Robot. Who would you remove?
Who would I remove? Say them again.
The Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Wicked, The Wild Robot. I know which one I would remove.
I might remove The Brutalist.
I'd remove that one or Emilia Perez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To put challengers in there.
Yeah.
There was some interesting stuff in Emilia Perez, but I don't think it was really good, like extra award-worthy good.
13? You mean, was it worth 13 noms?
Right.
To lead the entire pack? Are you kidding me?
13 noms for the Oscars is like elite territory.
And it's not that. I'm not going to say I'm sorry. I'm not going to say I'm sorry.
No, it's
you
not.
snubbed, completely shut out challengers. I'm not saying he deserves to have 13,
No.
but to completely shut out challengers, and you have Emilia Perez with 13 nominations. What the hell are you thinking, Academy? This shows that the Golden Globes actually had so much more right overall, even
Yes.
though it was leading to this with what Emilia Perez won there too. But in terms of the variety of nominations at the Golden Globes, appreciate that more than this. I can't. I can't.
With the Golden Globes being, the foreign journalists, I expected a lot of Emilia Perez love. Okay, it's the kind of movie that they would tend to like. I didn't expect the Academy to love it more, and it does deserve a lot of recognition. It's an interesting movie. There's some really wild, fun, really heartfelt things in that movie that I just like. I don't dislike Emilia Perez, but does it deserve to dominate?
When you have another movie that's a musical that is obviously touching on difficult topics, but in a musical bright format, in Wicked, like, is it because it was too bright and cheerful at times? It was too big of a production at times? If so, if that's the reason, then shove it. Wicked, if you're going for a movie that still has implications on society and talks about the challenges in society in a different form, in an analogy type of form.
In a non-threatening form.
Right. Wicked's right there. Am I a Wicked fan? Absolutely. I understand The Brutalist being up there because people are going to circle jerk to that.
Thank you.
A Complete Unknown deserves so much because it is very well done as a biopic.
Sure was.
Dune. How did Denis Villeneuve get snubbed off of Best Director? Josh Brolin was so determined and thought that he was going to get a nom for Best Director that he said, I will quit acting if Denny doesn't get nominated.
Okay, so I'll pose your question to you then. Of the best directors, which is Sean Baker of Anora, Brady Corbet, whatever his four names are, of The Brutalist, James Mangold, Complete Unknown, Jacques Odland for Emilia Perez, and I have my glasses on, so I forgot The Substance. So
Yes.
which one are you taking off then to put Denny in there? And I know that the answer for a lot of people could be any of them because he's the winner of the category.
Yes.
So and again, the fact that that's even a topic and he's not nominated is exactly what we're talking about.
Well, this is where it comes in. It's going to sound like I'm a hater because while Emilia Perez is good, I don't know if it is good enough.
Yeah, what directing flair did it really have?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing for me. So I would remove Emilia Perez or The Substance to put Denny in there. I think he deserves to be in there.
I might even take out A Complete Unknown. I think the performances, and there's so many good things about A Complete Unknown, but direction didn't stand out to me.
What was the challenge there to direct that film?
Right.
The actors told the story.
Yeah,
Yes.
they certainly did. And I really don't think there was any new ground broken or something done at an exceptional level. So I would put Denis in there. And he's one of our finest filmmakers, and he just keeps getting better, which is amazing that somebody can keep topping themselves after doing so many great movies.
Just a side note, does this piss him off enough to not do 3?
No, he's
so
going
much
to.
left on the table, please.
I know. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like,
No, I don't think
and
so.
I'm not even saying he's the one behind it being like, I should have been nominated. I'm not saying that. But I just mean, like, is it enough of a snub to resonate with him, I guess is what I'm saying.
All right, I'm going to throw out another theory.
Okay.
You guys tell me. Traditionally, the Oscars do not bestow big awards on science fiction.
Yes.
And if they didn't expand the Best Picture category to 10 movies several years ago, I think maybe Dune 2, which I think is a contender for Best Picture. It is mine for the year.
And it won for the Music City Film Critics Association Best Picture.
Exactly. I don't think it would have made the top 5 at the Academy because they don't acknowledge science fiction as a higher art form like the rest of the movies they have.
Okay.
Do you agree? Do you think that maybe we'll put it in because we have 10 in the Best Picture, but we're not going to give a sci-fi director a nod?
Sci-fi, which they already don't recognize, like Jim just said. I'll also throw in sequels. It's nearly impossible to get a sequel in the conversation of Best Picture. I think there's
Right.
What? There's a handful. I'm not going to count them. There's a handful.
Godfather 2.
Right. Well, yeah.
Wicked Part 2 is probably not going to get anywhere near as many nominations.
Right, because it's not new.
You're right.
Right.
You know?
And plus the meat of the story that people attach themselves to is versus with Defying Gravity popular songs in that first set.
Sure.
So my point, though, is that if sci-fi isn't recognized and it's a sequel, was it Dune from the start, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah, I think you make a great point, Gover.
It's not the shiny new penny, the belle at the ball.
But even then, Dune Part 2 was way better than Dune Part 1.
It was.
Oh, yeah. And I talked about that on this show.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. It hit on every cylinder. It was great. So, yeah, that was the one that made me, the only one that really made me angry when I saw he was snubbed.
So, one of the questions I'd like to pose to you, who are you cheering for in these Oscars? I mean, we talked a little bit about this in other reactions, but now that we see who the nominations are, is there a film or an actor or actress that you are cheering for that you would just love to see them win it?
Cynthia Erivo. Because I don't think she's going to. I think they're going to give it to Demi Moore. I don't think she's ever been nominated before.
Right.
And it's a
they love a
Golden Globes.
They love a comeback.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, they love a comeback.
Yes. And I think, and Mikey Madison and a lot of these groups have won Best Actress. So I think she's behind the 8 ball, but I would love to see her carry the torch for Wicked because I feel like it's going to get nominated for all these awards and get shut out. And I think that's a shame. And not because I had it number 1 atop my ballot. I just think it's
People are giving it the respect.
yeah.
So for me, it's Coleman Domingo in Sing Sing.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That's who I'm cheering for because I don't think he's going to get it, but I think he deserves to get it. What a category though, an actor.
Yeah.
Fantastic category.
How do you pick?
This is one of those where you, no matter who wins, you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, but Coleman Domingo, and I don't, not that Sing Sing I feel was snubbed necessarily because there's so many good films, and that was also a middle of the year release. But I love a good story that is important, and we've discussed this as well. So Coleman Domingo, his acting chops we've seen in so many other films as well,
good.
He is so dang good that I'd love to see him win the Oscar.
Yeah. The one that I'm rooting for that I think has a really good chance of winning because he's definitely got momentum, but Kieran Culkin in supporting actor for A Real Pain. The guy owned the screen, and you could make a case he was the lead actor in that movie. He was just that good, and he had that much to do with driving that story forward. So I think he's got a real good shot at winning. So these 3 guys that some of you may have called pretentious just trashed a universally loved among critics art house film named The Brutalist.
We have to keep it real, you guys. We're not going to sit here and feed you garbage.
Nope. And we're not going to just walk in step with everybody else because that's the thing. But tell us where we're wrong. Tell us why you think this deserves to be better. Or how are we overrating this movie? If you've seen it and you think, man, that was trash, I wouldn't even give it a 2. Tell us why. We'd love to. Do it in the comments. Hit us up on social media, the website, UntitledFilmProjectPod.com.
Thank you for listening to the Untitled Film Project Podcast. To support the show, please rate, review, follow, and subscribe. Original music by Jeremy Schwartz. Special thanks to the Music City Film Critics Association. Editing and post-production by Jeremy K. Gover. Voiceover by Chad Bennett.